Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 20th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a request for determination of applicability submitted to the Conservation Commission by Christine Zarazinski, Sutton, Mass. The project consists of installing a 16-foot stone patio behind the house on a level area on map 48, parcels 37, on 284 Manchog Road, Sutton, Mass. Talk to us. Talk to us.
Oh, talk to you. All right, yeah, we want to build a patio area. I brought a couple of pictures of examples that we're thinking to kind of match what we have up on the house.
Is it currently a
It's currently
cleared area?
It's weeds right now.
No trees, no
there's a-
understory.
Entirely. Part of it's grass.
Part of it is grass, yeah, mostly weeds, part grass. There's a big, I believe it is, tree next to it.
That's gonna stay there.
That's gonna stay there, yes.
You got all the right answers so far. You're doing fine.
I guess what else is there to tell about it? We're gonna hire someone to come in and level it. It's pretty level right now.
With a piece of equipment or just by hand? Or,
He told us no heavy machinery, so I'm not
yep.
sure. And then he's gonna put down, we picked out some large bluestone.
Are you talking about actual stone, or are you talking the bluestone dust?
Actual stones.
Actual stone.
And we just texted him, when you asked if it was pervious or impervious, and he texted back saying it was pervious.
Yeah, so you're gonna have space between the stones for water to infiltrate in between.
Yes, so water will be able to,
Yep.
Alright.
yep. So we're gonna do it, yeah, just kind of some examples.
On that piece of property right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me back up. Oh, you want, take us on the tour. Go ahead and use that as your, you can stand up.
There's my waterfront. Alright. So it's almost 100 feet to where we're going to put it in. There's a big oak tree I was talking about, and then it's going to kind of be a circular patio area right in here. Probably see a little bit bigger. Yep, so it's going to go back.
Here's the big oak tree.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's some big rocks over here. It's kind of a hill, and so they'll start at the big rocks and then come out here a little bit on the grass to be like a circular area.
Is the tree staying there?
Tree staying areas.
Alright, it's just
For the third time.
some landscape.
No tree is leaving.
That assumes I was listening. Okay.
Yeah, so just kind of following the rocks that are already there, and then it'll just come out.
Your thoughts?
It's a little bit of landscaping here. That's nothing.
Yep.
Trees staying in place. It's mostly, half of it's gonna be grass.
Mhm.
It's pervious stone patio.
We're done.
I have no problems with it.
Well,
What I wanna know, though, are you bringing in any gravel underneath it to level it out? Are you gonna be putting, you're gonna be scarifying the area, meaning you're gonna be taking the grass out? And if so, where are you gonna be putting any extra materials? And how's the machinery gonna get in to the house? Let me bring it up on the map here real quick. So, if I can speed this on. I'm going the wrong way.
So he's able to bring all the materials down through our neighbor's driveway,
Okay.
which is 282.
what he's really saying is you can't leave the material on site.
Well, we don't want the material left on site permanently.
Permanently.
And at least within 200 feet of the lake. And if you do have a stockpile of material, we want to make sure you put some kind of a barrier on the lower side, so in case there's a big storm, it doesn't wash down into the
So
pond.
he did say he was gonna put up a netting, barrier while he was doing the work. Is that what you
Like a silt fence or something?
Yeah.
Wattle?
Like a, yeah. But
So show me the route that you're gonna use to get in here.
Okay. So if you drive down a road.
Couldn't you lower the TV for her, Brandon?
Does it close?
No.
I need my heels on tight. Okay, so this is my neighbor's driveway, which has access to our backyard here.
Okay.
So he lets us use it all the time, because it's the only way to go in and out.
So maybe you condition it so that any stockpiles are bring with erosion controls, and that no stockpiles of materials get left within the 200 feet of the lake.
Or regrading, other than the patio.
Yeah, right.
Is there gonna be a wall associated with the patio?
Anyway,
Is it gonna be a retaining wall on the lower end of the low
so
wall?
I think that's what I was talking about, that he had said he was due, oh, I mean permanent? No,
Yeah.
no, sorry, no.
Because there's a slight slope, I know it's a level spot, but it still has a slight slope to it.
Mhm.
So I wanna know if you're gonna keep it on that slight slope, or if you're gonna bring in some, processed gravel or something underneath it to level it out. And then if it comes up high enough, you might have a ring of like low stones along the lower end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
none of that's a problem, it's
We
just,
did ask for
wanna
it
know
to
what
be
the detail
leveled
is?
out.
Yeah.
I don't think this is
Yeah.
something we should.
There you go.
chops go over. This level is not shop busting worthy,
No.
in my opinion.
Sounds good to
motion?
me. That's a motion.
Is that
Close the
an
vote.
issue?
To issue or to
No,
close the public
you
hearing?
were right first.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing?
Go to the public first.
Oh,
Is there anybody
in
here
the
to
audience?
speak on this? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Bob. All those in favor?
Aye. Make a-
Negative.
Make a motion to issue a negative determination with
3 conditions.
3 conditions, one being erosion control around the stored fill
Yeah,
And work area.
and work area.
yeah.
What was the third?
No regrading,
No regrading other than for the
Level it
patio
up.
itself.
No regrading other than the patio itself.
I recommend the 4th one, that this is all premised on the idea that the patio is a pervious, so it doesn't get created in a way that's gonna become impervious and then run off.
And it's
I think
pervious because there's space between the stones.
Right. So you do those 4, and I think that it'll be protected with the resource area. So go ahead and say it.
Yeah, we got a little winded there. What was the fourth, what was the fourth?
That
Short,
the patio be,
the patio be pervious?
pervious.
Okay.
yeah.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You're done. Yeah,
all
you
set.
can leave. Or you can stay and watch the rest of the meeting.
It's gonna be a little
I have a lot
sloppy
of work to
tonight.
go over to.
You got stuff to do?
It's never ending. That's what happens when you move.
Mm.
Okay, you wanna sign this so that when he,
Should I give you names
Oh,
before I
yeah.
leave? This is.
this is up here.
I haven't gotten them all back yet.
Oh. Okay, which one's that?
I sent 7
No,
now.
I can send you these.
Okay.
You're on next, I
Then
believe.
you need a copy of that too. Okay. All right, thank you.
But not the 7:30. Nope, 7:15 is the committee for, and 7:15 is Hutchinson Road. I'm sorry, we have 2 Hutchinson Roads.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
Right, I think they're right next, you're right on the street, right outside where he's working. It's so confusing.
Is this gonna get contentious?
Wear them out before I get there, okay?
This is gonna be really tough, I feel like.
Seems like a tough crowd.
Okay, we gotta wait till 7:15, so,
Alright.
anything else we can take care
How
of?
about project updates, 80 Worcester Providence Turnpike?
They're not here yet anyway, are they still coming?
Yeah.
All right, so here's the skinny on that. They really want the certificate of compliance,
So they do.
right? But, and a couple weeks ago, I did a walk with them, and there have been improvements from the last time I was there. But I still have concerns about the grass swale that's along that back of the properties that run along 146. It's a weed swale.
Yep.
That's what it is. And they put in stone check dams to stop it from blowing out.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a situation where you have a system of waterfalls where the sediment builds up behind the check dam, and now sediment's about even with the top of the check dam. And then it falls down, creates a little scour, it starts to level out again, and then you get more sediment. And in the areas where it's more level, we got weeds growing up.
Mm.
I don't think that was the intention.
Nope.
And at the very bottom of the stone swale, I still have some apprehension about taking out the erosion controls there. So, to that, I got a call from Norman Gamache at Gurrier and Halen, and he called me either Friday or Monday, and these folks want him to revise his letter for the certificate of compliance, and he's not gonna do it until he goes there himself.
Yep.
And he wanted to know what my concerns were.
Mm.
I told him exactly what I just told you.
Mm.
And also I told him about that, the pipe, because we have that infiltration strip on the driveway, and that goes to an underground infiltration chamber, and there's an overflow that goes to the bottom of that stone swale. And I told him about how last summer I was walking during a downpour, and I saw water going into that pipe. So I said, could you please check and make sure that the inverts are right, and that everything is, the water's going the correct direction. So those three things he's gonna check out, and he's not gonna write a letter until
Yep.
those things are done, and I urge them to continue their, coming here tonight, but they may still show up, for
Yep.
all I know.
I haven't received anything from him, so. The other is that, we need to table the minutes from June sixth. I don't think Joy's had a chance to do anything with them, so.
The 5.5 West Sutton Road's a replace-in-kind driveway,
That's
non-issue.
story.
I did stop there, and
Yep.
it looked to me not to be any bigger than it ever was.
Yep.
It's on my way home, so.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, that was a fire situation.
Yeah, what did I read? Somebody tore up the driveway and they fixed it or something?
The company that rebuilt the house broke the driveway, so they
Yep.
fixed it.
Well, 7:15, Hutchison Road, Shoulder, Mass. Electric.
It's me.
Is this a,
New telephone poles?
Yes, new utility poles. I'm Corey Schutzman. I'm with BSC Group
He
on
needs
behalf
to
of.
read this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
not a problem. Thank you for
You
your
read that, Billy?
Yeah.
pushing this thing along for us.
I'll
Sutton
give you
Cons-
the lowdown.
Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 20th, 2018, at 7:15 PM at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. Purpose of this hearing is to review a request for determination of applicability submitted to the Conservation Commission by Mass Electric Company, Waltham, Mass. Project consists of installation of 2 new electric distribution poles, 18 and 19, with anchors in the shoulder of the road on map 2215, parcels 22-107/15-7 on Hutchinson Road, Sutton, Mass. It's all yours now.
Oh, sorry about that.
Not a problem.
I'm Corey Schutzman. I'm with the BSC Group on behalf of National Grid or Massachusetts Electric. This is a customer fulfillment project. There's a new residence at 78 Hutchinson Road. In order to get electricity there, we have to tie in from Hutchinson Road. There's 2 new poles that they're proposing to install. Both are located in buffers to resource areas. They're on the road shoulder. They're more than 10 feet from the resource area there, and one is in the riverfront area and buffer to BBW, and one is in buffer BBW, riverfront area, and the floodplain. It's a total of 6 square feet of of permanent impact
Mhm.
from the two poles. That's pretty much the gist of the
Mhm.
project.
Do any trees have to come down?
No, there'll be regular maintenance of trees along for clearance of
So
the.
just clearing of branches?
Right, exactly, pruning of branches along with the regular maintenance program.
Okay, so there's another big project in the works or being proposed right now regarding some of the ponds down there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a gas line that goes through there. Are there gonna be any conflicts with, gas lines and anything that they're proposing down there with the Mass Fish and Wildlife District?
We coordinated with Mass Fish and Wildlife. They had no problem with our proposed project. They suggested we coordinate with the Office of Dam Safety, which we did. We haven't gotten a determination from them, but I have a feeling that that's also gonna be negative. As far as the gas easement, I don't think it should be a conflict. We only auger, it's not that deep, and I don't think we're co-located with the easement itself.
Okay.
Yeah, the gas doesn't actually touch Hutchinson, right? Just was Sutton Road,
Yeah,
I think.
the gas line is right here,
Yeah.
but it's close enough for this.
Right. No, there shouldn't be any conflict with that.
Okay. So you auger these things in, right?
Yes.
What do you do with the extra dirt?
They either use it to backfill or they dispose of it off-site. So they landfill it if necessary.
That's all I know.
Anybody from the public on this?
Other Hutchinson Road.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Make a motion to issue a negative determination.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
You can sign those two.
Gonna be a long, quiet meeting.
I really don't like the having to state the exact times.
Well, we could list them all at 7, but then guys like him
Yeah, that's the
get to
problem.
bill his customer to be here at 7 until they get called up.
Get that all-
Customers don't mind, do they? No.
Many towns just set that certain date, like, right, certain time, 7, everybody shows up.
Yeah.
And then they have agenda, and you see where you are on the agenda. Worcester does it that way, they
Mm.
have 20 people, or Sturbridge, I think, does it. Charlton, I don't think they set up a time. I bet you 50% of the towns, maybe 60, don't set a time for each hearing. They just set time, show up, go online, find the agenda, see where you are on the agenda.
Right,
maybe talk to the
and
clerk.
about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, call up the agent, and ask how many people continued.
Yeah. Worcester, yeah.
The only problem with that is
Yeah. Hey,
advertising. I have to have a set date for the
yeah,
advertising.
well, I guess the people around here are up on the law.
Well, say 7, everybody shows up at 7.
Yeah, that's what happens,
Yep.
people just wait around. Yeah, I was, on Monday night, I was in Seekonk, and it's the latest I ever showed up for a meeting. I was on towards the end, and I called the conservation agent, and she says it's a really heavy agenda tonight, it's some controversial stuff. And I wouldn't show up any earlier than 9:30. So at 9 o'clock, I left my house at 9 o'clock to drive to Seekonk, got there around 9:30, and then I still waited another hour.
Wow.
And I was on for about 20 minutes, so I got out of there about 10 of 11.
So,
And I wasn't even the last one.
busy town, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
Or is it just one of the towns, there's a few towns around that can't close hearings?
Well, they have a chairman who likes to talk, he really savors the spotlight.
Yeah.
And he likes to talk and talk and talk, and he.
Just like
he
me.
He just enjoys it. Yeah, you know how it is.
But there's
10
some
words,
towns
that's
that-
all you get.
There's agents that don't know how to close it. I won't mention towns, but they're in Worcester, southern Worcester County. They just can't close hearings. They just don't know what the
Yeah.
regs are.
Yeah.
And so it's constant, then there's a continuance and another continuance. You see these agendas that are 3 pages long, and it's 2.5, 2, or whatever. There's a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have so much problem with that. Some people, laymen have a problem.
What else can we do?
Well, we got 13, 15, and 16 Sunrise. I have not heard from her. What happened is when I mailed out the paperwork, I mailed it to 16 Sunrise, thinking that that's where they were living, 'cause that's the address they had.
Missing
They-
replanted bushes, what does that mean?
Yeah, that means on 13 and a half and 15, there was supposed to be bushes replanted for the trees removed,
Yeah.
and site visit was supposed to be done in the spring, which didn't get done. And now I sent a letter back to Mary Lou Montaigne, and I sent it to the wrong address. So then I called Stuart, and he gave me the right address to send it to, and I have not heard back from her, so she could be on vacation. So we'll just have to wait until I get, information back on that.
So it's 13.
13.5, yeah, and 15.
Oh, I remember this
16,
one.
she planted hers, but the others didn't, so
Yeah, I
they're from
remember
other
these.
states, these other states.
Mhm.
So that might be the reason that they didn't put any.
All right, well, you stay on that.
So that would be it. Let's see, what else,
How'd they do, Bob?
Bob, looking at.
Travis's work. Get nervous when he's got a lot of time.
We have a certificate to be signed for 44 Wacky Road. Did anybody go and look at that, or does that?
They need to get rid of all of their bittersweet vine.
Oh, it's still there?
Yep. They need to, I told you, they need to break a few eggs to make an omelet in there. If they need to meet with me, they can meet with me, and I'll.
Let me get these out of your life, Bob.
Alright, I'll send them, I'll send them to you.
I was here for a reason. That's why we're gonna go for a continue.
Thank you. These are the most recent,
Yeah.
the ones you sent today.
Yes.
Is this on the right thing, one?
Okay, so, yeah, so the vines need to be
Invasives.
invasive.
Get rid of them.
Fish and Wildlife decommissioning ponds, is that what that is?
They're trying to, get rid of a couple dams. Yeah.
What I might just suggest, I'm doing the Phillipson Reservoir, the market basket up in Athol, and if you go online and look at the aerial flyover of the Phillipson Reservoir, which is on the line of Athol and Phillipson, that whole thing, when they decommissioned it, I think it was 13, I have the plans, the entire pond area, now it's straight, is all Phragmites, there's nothing but Phragmites.
They're gonna take care of that, though, don't you worry.
Right.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, they also, the USGS also showed the pond draining in a western direction, and they never did. So we had to go back into 1800 plans of when they actually built the dam, prove the DPW, the decommissioning, Fish and Wildlife, that the dam always flowed out the northern end, because it showed the stream coming out where the pump house was, going underneath the exit 18 and into this market basket site, and it never did, ever. So now Boston, the people that are revising USGS maps, USGS doesn't revise them anymore. The local state DEP does. Boston, I forget the girl's name, but they're, the next revision of the USGS map coming out will have a revision of the right direction where the flow always went from the Phillipson Reservoir. But the point is, it is all Phragmites. I just caution anybody when they're taking an entire dam out, what's around that area. If it's frag, it could spread across the entire pond, because this entire pond area is.
They treated some of them there a couple of years ago, did a pretty good job. But I'm sure
It's
it'll
tough
come
one to
back.
treat that, correct, stock by stock. I just gave what there was a couple of revised pages. This was, you
And I
only
have that
received
here.
3. You had the original 3. There are revised pages. That's why I just gave you 3 instead of giving a piecemeal revision. The P&S is in there, which shows the owner has granted permission to pursue permits. DEP, sometimes they want to see that owner signature on the NOI. You've been using the P&S with the owner's signature, showing that the applicant has the right through the owner to go and pursue permits. So DEP has been accepting, again, the P&S, as long as the owner's signature's on there, as an exhibit to show that the owner has signed the NOI.
Did you bring the,
So the 3 I just gave you have the P&S's in it and some square footages on the riverfront area. Brandon had them, but that's the next project.
did you bring the, notice cards, mailing?
I thought we just talked about that this afternoon.
Oh, well. I have a lot going on today. No, I mean the cards that we mailed out.
We don't mail cards, we just took it in the mail.
But I have your labels here, I don't know if you want.
I know, we talked about that this afternoon, I didn't need your labels. We just make our own, but I appreciate the labels.
I don't know, do you still want them?
Looks like 7:30 to me. 37 Dodge Hill Road. Is that a motion I heard?
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Waive.
Waive the reading.
Thank you.
sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Starting to misspell.
Hmm?
Starting to misspell.
You will when you're chair.
Ah.
We'll find out how good it is to have somebody making those motions. Grasshopper.
Good evening, Travis Brown with Andrews Survey and Engineering here on behalf of Stockwell Farm LLC. Since our last meeting, you had asked me to move this stormwater basin outside of the 25-foot buffer zone, which I've provided revised plans. This orange line here depicts the 25. We have no work associated with that stormwater basin or any other part of the project that's within that 25-foot buffer.
However,
However,
drawings depict the limited disturbance to be well outside of the 25-foot.
yep, so that will run along the stone wall, so that's previously, or currently hayed field. So as with the other projects that were wet meadow, ongoing mowing of that will be done as part of that, and we're proposing to put those signs along that existing wood line, which is basically that stone wall there, that existing stone wall, which provides a natural buffer between any of that work, that existing field, and then that wetland on the other side. I mean, those have been there from day one on this plan.
Right.
What am I missing?
There's gonna be no disturbance, permanent disturbance anyway, any closer than 25 feet from the BBW line, which is more or less this stone wall, just a little bit beyond the stone wall. So you have the signs at the stone wall, right?
Yes, so there's trees just inside or at the stone wall that those markers would be placed place that.
Right, and how far are the people's lawns gonna go?
To that wall, to that tree line, which is existing meadow right now.
But that's closer than 25 feet.
Currently, the way we're developing these individual lots, we're not gonna have any work within that.
Hold on, I was getting nervous there, okay, so, this is just for the roadway, really.
This is for the roadway.
We're getting ahead
so-
of ourselves.
A little bit, but
Yeah.
I would like to be clear about it going forward to the next two filings.
Right.
So this filing is the roadway and the stormwater basin, which are outside the 25-foot buffer. We're gonna come in the next week or so with filings for these two lots.
Right.
So if this is not acceptable, these placements of these signs, in my mind it is, it's an existing meadow. I think they should have the ability to mow that as they are doing now.
There's a difference between a hayfield and a mowed lawn. Mowed lawns do not have any wildlife value. Hayfield does, and also lawns tend to get chemicals, fertilizers, whereas hayfields do not. And it's been the commission's policy that you can keep your hayfield, but you have to put the signs up at the 25-foot mark to mark the edge of your lawn versus what can be continued to be cut a couple times a year as a hayfield.
Sure, so if they place those signs at the 25-foot, when we come into those filings,
Right.
they have the ability to go and mow that.
Yeah.
A couple times a year.
A couple times a year.
I think that's reasonable, but for our filing, I don't think that affects.
Nothing to
Right,
do with
and
tonight.
also I wanna bring up, maybe you wanna utilize the same technique that Glenn used over on West Sutton Road, where you're putting, just 6 inches above the ground, granite, with a placard on top of that.
Sure.
Instead of having these signs that people will have to look at, which people generally don't like and can be pulled up and
No.
by, fence makers.
Move back 25 feet.
Yeah, if that's acceptable to the commission, I think that would be better to have that around there.
So,
that's
so
visible.
in this case,
Those are not flush with the ground.
No, they stick up, so they're visible.
right, because if they're flush with the ground, they're gonna get covered and lost. The purpose of this NOI is really just for the road. The houses are there just to show that a subdivision could be built, so it's not a fool's errand. This whole NOI for the road isn't a fool's errand. So, in the NOI, and I've done this before, is I make it very clear that the NOI is for the road only, that the houses are only being shown as, what could be done, and that this NOI does not in any way, shape, or form authorize construction of the lots, the houses.
To Bob's point, conversation earlier, you almost have to grade all the lots to create the road. Is that about right, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna use the fill coming off the road, it's either gonna be wasted offsite or used to fill the lots.
Yeah, and it will
So-
be used in those, when you see those filings, right?
So it's, the whole thing should be done to be economical, it should all be done at one time versus to throw away the dirt and then buy new dirt to fill lots.
But no grading beyond the 25-foot zone.
Correct.
Okay, that'll be clear.
Yeah, and that's been clear, from our design from day one, it's just a matter of placement of signs.
Okay.
Well, the limit of disturbance triggers that whole discussion, that's what, it was that triggered the discussion, not so much the sign location. The permanent disturbance is actually gonna be 25 feet
Right. It's outside of that.
inside of that, right?
Well, the 25 is, here, so all of our work is outside of the 25.
But your limit of disturbance as shown in the drawing is 15 foot inside of that area, which prompted the discussion. See what I'm saying?
I do.
Now, just in, I guess we don't care, but we had made a suggestion at one time of a swale on the existing slope, the top of it, to prevent the water from running over, and I don't see it on the drawing, but,
The diversion ditch, yeah, we do note it on sheet 4, proposed diversion ditch placed at top of slope, which will be provided at the top of that slope, and then it will come down here to where it will kind of level spread and head towards.
sheet C4,
C4.0.
1-0?
So at the top of the slope, there's a thin dash line, proposed diversion ditch, placed at the top of the slope.
I'll believe you, I don't see it on my drawing.
Yeah. If you get a minute, Brandon, you wanna just go up to the top of that
Sure,
slope?
this is the right sheet, right?
Yeah, it is. So this dashed line here,
Well,
proposed diversion ditch. placed
sure,
at the top of the
I apologize. The drawings that were handed were not the drawings you're looking at, so,
Can I
that seems to
approach?
be.
Sure.
No,
Sure.
sure, sure, I won't hit you.
Sounds
No,
like
I
courtroom.
just-
You bet him really.
Yeah, this,
I mean, it's just a,
yeah, I mean, these were the very first drawings. It's been updated since then, and I've provided those PDFs.
The PDF, but did you send any, hard copies?
There was some plans that I brought and left last meeting.
This was-
I have 2 copies here tonight.
I'm just trying to explain why I asked the questions, that's all.
I
I
understand.
Get those out, yeah.
wasn't picking on you. Just,
There's 2 sets, if you guys don't mind sharing.
Thank you,
That
and I
shows on
apologize.
sheet C4.
I'm trying to hit you with this baby.
Got it the right way up.
Okay, I apologize.
So on this sheet is C4?
Yep.
There's gonna be a few discrepancies from when, on this plan compared to what you're gonna be doing with, the 2 house lots, lots 1 and 1, 2. So my suggestion is when you come in with lot 1 and 2, use the 25-foot buffer zone as your permanent limit of disturbance. And I recommend putting in, granite bounds 6 inch above ground with a placard on top of it, like glued onto it.
If they desire,
If they desire,
or they can.
or you
use-
can go with the traditional post and, sign,
Correct.
every 50 feet. I'd recommend like, well, on lot 1, I'd recommend at least 2 of them. There's not much of a 25-foot buffer on the, lot 2, but probably 2 at the, where they turn back towards the well end.
Is it just lot 1 you worried about the granite posts? The
No, lot
placard?
2, lot 2 will have to have it as well.
Oh, I see, right, yeah. It's a lot smaller though, right?
Right. And then, within the 25-foot zone where it's, still hayfield, you can, maybe write a note right within it, say to be, maintained as hayfield, to be cut no more than twice per year. And the date's, no earlier than, July 15th. July.
Yeah, it goes from July
July to October, October 15th.
Limit cutting in those.
Yeah, there's 25-foot zone. If the owner so chooses. that's how it'll be right up. It's gonna be the same template that I've been doing for the Romeos down on Putnam Hill Road.
You're all set, Brandon?
Yes. So, when you make a motion, I would make a motion that outlines the fact that lots 1 and 2 have to be separate NOIs, and that the depictions of lot 1 and 2 here, or any of the lots, the individual lots, do not apply for this particular notice, for the order of conditions you're going to be issuing.
We're assuming evidence, not. Any from the public to speak on this?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Make a motion to issue
Order of conditions.
the order of conditions, being lots 1 and 2 have to have a separate NOI, and the depictions for the roadway do not apply to the lots. Is that
I
right?
don't know about that wording.
Okay, how would you like to word it?
That the order of conditions is issued for the road and infrastructure only, and not for house construction.
Okay, so,
Lot development, not house construction.
Yeah, lot to be right.
okay, so this is for lot development only.
New,
This
for
is
the
for
road only.
development.
Of road development, not
And
lot
and
development.
associated infrastructure like the detention basin.
And associated infrastructure, such as a detention basin.
You're doing well under pressure, Andy.
Is that the second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I can't.
So
I
I also
second.
have
I know,
revised
but I can't.
stormwater
Oh, I know, I
narratives
understand, I
for
just-
when we revise the base.
I'm not used to it.
The O and M change?
We
That's
added
fine.
at least 20 seconds. to
It'll
the
be
meeting.
an addendum in the back, it's gonna need intuitive.
Yeah.
There you go.
And thank you, Travis, for making that take the 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
we're not bored now.
Exactly 15 minutes.
Very good job. Manchog Pond Aquatic Treatment. I bet that's you two guys. No.
It's been canceled.
Been canceled.
Here, wanna sign that?
Not really, but I will.
Yeah, they made a boo-boo. So when they came in here, they gave Wanda the green cards they were supposed to be giving to Douglas. And when they went to Douglas, they had our green cards, and they said, well, it was the wrong green cards, can't open the hearing. So there's gonna be a little switcheroo done, and then they go into the next meeting in Douglas, and then we'll find out.
You get your stamp.
Brandon's copy of
I
things.
know.
Get it out.
Same as
Get it out of the way.
Yeah, they came in and had a great discussion, and they just gave us the wrong green cards, and we didn't do this. And then they went to Douglas, and to their credit, they said, what is this? These will say something.
I think Steve just said the same thing. I was just.
Tell him I've been trying to get in touch with him about this man short project, and don't call me back.
Oh, I'll make a point of it.
I emailed him, I got the phone
He
number.
was sick.
We got someplace to sign there too, Bob.
Cancer. He just beat it. He just had 2 types of lymphoma. and one is like deadly and the other one isn't, but then if you kill the one that isn't, then it maybe will kill the other. I saw him and I didn't recognize him, because I hadn't seen him in years, and he just came out of it, only last month or two or something, but clean, or, you know, they say, oh, he looks as rough as me, and I'm old.
One foot in the grave and the other on a banana
But
peel.
he's doing well, he's come out of it.
That's good.
Well,
Yeah, I'll tell him
I gotta make sure that I get in
Dan,
touch
do
with
you
him now.
wanna do a recess?
Yeah.
He's the one that got me.
I can't hear you.
Do you wanna do a recess for 15 minutes?
I think we can do the,
Do anything till 8 o'clock?
you guys for 80 Worcester Providence?
Oh,
He's the one that
okay.
brought you up this
I
week.
think we can do that. That's not a public hearing.
Okay, we can do that.
What my phrase was, introduce me to exist.
Yeah.
Brandon, I think we can do the 8 o'clock one. It's not a public hearing. It's,
Yeah, did
They're
you
looking for a
continue
CFC.
The, Manjo Pond one?
for 80 Worcester Providence Turnpike.
Oh, he's
Did-
Yeah.
Did you continue the
Yeah.
Manjo Pond one?
We gotta do that. You gotta make a motion to continue.
Make a motion to continue,
August 18th at 7:45.
to July 18th at 7:45.
Yeah, That'd be the Manchog Pond.
Manchog
Yeah.
Pond Association of Forestry.
All those in favor?
Hi,
How we doing?
doing well.
Excellent.
Joe Carton from Clean Energy Collective.
Yep.
With me, I have Charlie Roberts from M&W Energy. What I provided you is a request for COC packet prepared by Guerrier and Hellman, actually back in December 2017. And we're here tonight to request a COC for the project at 80 Worcester Providence Turnpike.
Okay, this letter from Guerrier and Hellman is dated December 11th. I got a call from Norm Dimash on Monday. And from what I understand, there's a request for him to create a revised certificate letter. And so he asked me what the issues were, and I told him the same things I told you guys when walking around. 3 things. That grass swale, look into that grass swale, is that how it's supposed to look and how it's supposed to be functioning? Was it, you know, is it built correctly and functioning correctly? And the other 2 things were at the very bottom of the stone swale. I still have a little bit of trepidation about removing the erosion controls in that spot. And the last thing is that outlet pipe for the underground infiltration chamber. Is it operating the way it's supposed to? And I know you said it was, but while I had him on the phone, I mentioned to him. So he says, well, I'm not gonna issue a new letter until I go there myself or his crew goes there themselves. So I think we're gonna have to, we can talk about the issues tonight, but I think we're gonna have to wait until he gets the new letter out before we can finalize this thing.
Okay. Yep, we did talk to Norm. Previously, our contact over there was
Bruce Williams.
Yeah, Bruce is no longer with GE,
Yeah, I don't
so
remember.
that's
So
caused
they
a little
changed,
bit
that's
of an issue.
part of the confusion is, but they've changed who their lead was coming out. First it was Norm, as you know. Norm's retiring at the end of this month, actually.
Yeah, that's what I thought Norm was like stepping back. You
Yeah.
know, I was kinda
6
surprised
months
to be
ago.
talking to him.
So Ron also from our office, so the lead, we're gonna get this through again. We are gonna have, him come out though and do another inspection himself on top of it, so we can get an updated letter.
Okay. Just those 3, everything else is looking good. I mean, the field underneath the array is nice and good and stable. They put up, jute mesh. There's grass growing. I'm happy with that. It's really those 3 things. It's the grass swale along the back of those properties that parallel 146. And then we get to the bottom of that riprap swale, because I still have a little bit of concern about that area. So if we can get some kind of clarification from Curry and Halnan about what they think of it, and was it built to their specifications, and do they think it's stable enough and all that, I'll be happy with it.
Okay. Are you looking for their letter to specifically reference those items?
Yes, it has to. And I talked to Norm about that on Monday.
Okay. Well, we can absolutely do that.
Yep.
And then happy to answer any other questions while we're here.
I think that's about it, right?
Well, then, What's your plans for a maintenance program?
So there's an O and M
Yeah,
associated with this.
I would have to look what the specific one with this project is. We provide all of the O and M documents through permitting to our O and M team to handle it through the life of the project.
I have
So-
the O and M right here, it's a couple pages long,
Okay.
so.
I understand, but that's part of the problem. People provide it, but they never follow through with it, so.
Well,
Somebody else's
They
job to
forget
do
about
it.
you know?
that's why years ago, I started making sure that the commission included the O and M as a condition, an in perpetuity condition of the order of conditions in the permit. So, it's all right here. You can read it, something you think is correct, and they're not following through, you have the power to make them do it at any time. Anything else?
What's that?
Sorry to disappoint.
No problem.
First time?
When is the next, meeting now? Is it 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
July 18th.
So we're taking the third off?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll be here.
Could you put us on your July 18th agenda? I'm sure we can get G&H out there.
I think
At
he's,
8:15 right now.
I think you're gonna end up doing some work on site to fix the grass swale, though. By the
So
sound
we
of it.
have addressed a lot, we've addressed everything since he's been to the site, so now it's more of a matter of getting G&H out there
Okay.
just to certify that it's
All right,
been done
great.
correctly.
So that's the only inspection left,
Yeah, they
right?
designed it, they know how it's supposed to function.
Right.
If they think it's functioning per their spec and per their plan, then that's fine with me. It's not exactly a grass swale, it's more like a weed swale, but it's vegetation that's keeping things stable, so if they think it's okay, then, and functioning like it's supposed to, then I would be okay.
Hmm,
Okay,
Great,
great.
So
Thank
they're the
you.
engineers.
thank you.
Okay, so do you wanna be on the next meeting?
All that.
Yes, we do,
I'll
absolutely.
also let you know
Read that.
what the
Well,
exact.
just they gotta maintain the swale, they gotta keep the trees from growing in it.
So if you wanna just send it
No
to
trees
Greg
growing in
Carey,
yet.
Yeah.
as you did with this meeting, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, have a good night.
Now we can take a recess till 8:15.
Yeah, do you want,
You got it.
you do it. Motion down there, that was-
Nothing else to talk about?
Is that the last one?
So.
The,
Put up a recess sign.
Good, you're on.
Bob and I went down to look at 42 Bond Hollow Road. The work within the BVW and our jurisdiction is stable. There's no work taking place there now. They're working up around the house. I don't see any issues.
no sign of erosion. Erosion control fence is in disrepair, but it's up and it's functioning, but there's no sign of erosion and the site is stable. There
Yeah.
hasn't been any, doesn't appear to have been any work done up there in quite some time. And they appear, as Dan said, working around the house proper only.
No, they're gonna have issues when they come and ask for a CFC, but that's outside of what we can do right now, I believe.
What issues do you think they'll have with the COC?
There's construction irregularities, it's not built, I'm told, according to the plans, at the base near the road.
Down by the road with
Right.
that big swale.
Right, and they've been told about this.
Yeah, there's been contention
Yep.
about the pipe that goes underneath the driveway, and is that in the right spot? Was it, I think it was supposed to be a double, now it's a single, and the angle's not quite right. We've been talking about that for years.
Let's say, the site itself seems stable and functional.
Right. Do you think that any of the erosion controls are safe to take out?
Yeah.
Because there is some silt fence there. And my opinion is that it's better to take the silt fence out sooner than later if it's already stable, because then it tends to get forgotten and buried, and it's not good.
They have a life.
Okay?
Back to recess. Now, now it's time to reorganize the board. Mr. Teff's gonna make some nominations.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Joyce Smith as chairman and Indy DeWolf as vice chairman. All those in favor?
No, he's gonna second it.
Co-chair.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
So done.
Thanks, thank you.
I think you should say this is a technicality. Your name isn't Andy, it's technically Andy.
Right, I'm out.
And therefore,
I'm out.
the motion is not over, right?
Null and void.
So when Joyce is, out, you'll be in charge.
Oh,
Does that mean he's in charge right now?
No, well, that does not start effective till July 18th.
July.
Actually,
Midnight, July
Actually,
18th.
technically, July 1.
No,
Okay,
it'll be
for being,
July.
well, not for the meetings, but like, you'll be on call, it's like, starting July 1.
Great.
Did we go back to recess, or we?
Yes, please.
The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 14th, at 8:15 at Sutton Town Hall. Purpose of this hearing is to review a request for determination of applicability submitted to the Conservation Commission by Rob Judson, Sutton, Mass. Project consists of a single-family home on map 22, parcels 102, on 78 Hutchinson Road, Sutton, Mass.
I'll do it. Mr. Chairman, we do not have a DEP filing number, so we cannot close tonight.
Yep.
And also, I heard an error in your announcement, as this being an RDA, this is a notice of intent.
All right.
It is?
Yes.
I corrected that on my form too.
Okay, that's my fault. I wrote it wrong, sorry.
So corrected. Thank you.
We will be requesting a continuance because DEP did not have time to review this plan as we just received the revised plan. There was some problems with, I'm not saying problems with the plan, but there was a question whether or not the lot was grandfathered under the requirement of upland because under, could I ask if anybody's here for this project? I don't believe anyone else. Does your butters notice? Do you have a plan?
What I'll also do, I have a digital copy, I'll put it up on the TV screen, so you don't have to worry so much about who sees it. All right. And 6:15.
Was it deemed a grandfathered lot?
Yes, the law was created in '94. It was first created in '92, and then it was added to in '94 by the same owners. The people that now formerly owned this property. What was their last name? Lavoie.
Paul Lloyd.
Do you own the Lavoie? Can I ask Mr. Chairman, are you own the Lavoie's house? No. Sorry, thank you. So, it is a proposed single-family house coming off of Hutchinson Road, and now that we've straightened out that it is grandfathered, it was created prior to the zoning of the requirement of upland requirement. And under the new requirement of upland requirement, you cannot use land under easement, so although there's a lot of upland, you can't utilize that as towards your square footage. I think we're 8,000 square foot short, wasn't a lot, but anyways, it was short, but because it's grandfathered, that doesn't come into play now. So then the engineers could pick it up and continue on revising the plan, because the first plan I received is the plan you received, and it didn't have my riverfront square footages on it. It had some incorrect flagging numbers, and I might say it didn't show all the wetland flags down by the old ponding area, which then come into the site. And I said to the engineers, well, the commission's gonna wanna know, not just, okay, there's some buffer zones, but where those flags are in
Yeah, so we
relation to
can
those
check it, yeah.
buffer zones. Exactly. So we had them bring in this new plan, and, which just shows down by the road, the wetlands down by the road, and as they extend up. Brandon did earlier have, an aerial flyover of this when you were talking about the telephone poles. And it does show that there's an existing, Mr. Judson is here, so if I ask through the chairman, he might explain some of the old history, if you choose to hear it, of the creation of this cart road, this road paved here, that went all the way over to, was it Lavoie that owned the logging operation too, all the way through? And eventually, did the Lavoies sell the lot, can I ask?
They sold their house.
They sold the house.
Relocated.
So anyway, the point is, this used to continue on, it was cut off, Lavoie sold the house, kept this lot. This was a driveway, he had used it to dump stumps, there was a stump dump that Brandon's gonna see over on this slope, it's a steep slope. This is the entrance that I'm talking about, I don't know, what year was that photo, Brandon?
This is 13.
This is 13. But it had been in the driveway for, we're looking at, it was prior to '96, at least roughly.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the driveway. The driveway's been there a long time.
Okay.
And there's a gate right when you get to the edge of
Somewhere
the
in here.
easement, right, so
Okay.
that's been there for a long, this very long time.
So, the rest of the project is outside, I know, the conflict here for me was, Fish and Wildlife flagged wetlands, and then I flagged wetlands.
Mhm.
And I think Fish and Wildlife didn't flag all the wetlands. But if you had closed the hearing on Fish and Wildlife, then those flags would have been nailed in stone.
Mhm.
And then I would have had to go by their flags, but because we're both still here, I have my flags there as valid as theirs, and Brandon can look
Yeah,
at it.
these flags are fine, these will hold.
Huh?
I checked this out already.
Okay.
These flags will hold.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because I came up when I came up the gas line easement, it appears this other wetland system that came close to us, which I was concerned, I wasn't sure how close it would come. This wetland system comes up the gas line easement and comes back down. And there is some, sometimes when they make these gas lines, obviously they put that crushed stone bed under them, and sometimes that groundwater will follow that. And then on this steep slope, it's pumping out. And so I've got sedges and rushes coming up that gas line. It appears that might be the reason why I have a wetland that far up, but I did track it up the hill and then came back down, so. And then we have our buffers and the septic as well outside. I think the only thing on the plan that I will ask the engineers to put on the plan as a revision, it's a quick note, but the limit of lawn. Because I know you guys, somebody could say, well, is he gonna go over into this buffer zone? If
Well,
that's a concern.
that's a question I have too, is I didn't see a clear limited disturbance.
All the way up the drive?
Oh, yes.
Or just here where your jurisdiction is?
And honestly, it can be right at the edge of the jurisdiction,
Yes.
if you want it, you know? But I mean, most concerned
Yes, sir.
about, you know, this is the area that's really most concerned.
I wrote a note on my plan, it's on the other, part of that other plan, to show the limit of the lawn. Anywhere, well,
It can go right up to the edge of the jurisdictional area for all
well,
anybody
yeah.
cares, really, because
Well,
that's,
we
it's
but
allowed.
it has to have it on there, because then they know that we're not
Yeah,
gonna go
there'll
anywhere.
be no work at all in that
Still,
Yeah.
we have 2 weeks before, or more,
You,
now the
you
18th.
can, you can put your limited disturbance right along this 100-foot AWRA line, and then it can go right into this 200-foot riparian zone line, all the way down to the road if you want. But if you go into that, you know, then that's gonna be a different story.
But you don't have to go up to.
No.
No, you don't have to if you don't want to, but even so, if you put a limited disturbance up here, it's gonna be hard to enforce it because you're technically outside of jurisdiction up here. So if you did wanna come right down to the line, you could. It's just when you go into this area here,
You
then the commission has a lot more controlling power.
So we will show the limit of work on the plan, just to make it clear where we are gonna stop working.
Right.
And that because the roadway was already existing, 1,800 square feet, that piece in the riverfront area, I wrote it up in your notice, those are the revised sheets that I put in that NOI.
But you also have a lot of new grading proposed on the road. right?
Once we get up out of that area, well,
Just
Well,
over
no,
the
not
gas line.
necessarily.
the proposed grading starts in here, but we stay on the roadway, so yes, there's grading to.
Right, so it all drains, it drains down towards the road, down towards Hutchinson Road, right?
Yes, sir.
And what I'd like to know, go ahead.
There's, this is a swale, he created a swale along the roadway to pick
An
up
existing swale.
the existing swale,
Yeah.
and he put crushed stone in it, and we're proposing to continue to allow water coming off the hill and any groundwater that might intercept during the highest groundwater table time of the year to run through that crushed stone, and it eventually comes into this round area that we have on the upgrading side.
Yeah, right here, you can look up there.
There it is, right
This
there.
one right
That's
here.
on your, right.
So, you know, right now it's partly gravel, partly grassed. It might have been like recycled asphalt underneath it for all I know. There is some like material
Okay.
there. The grass is now growing over. But I wanna know, like, what, is this going to be, continue to be a gravel driveway? Is it gonna be paved? Is it gonna be stone? Because and the reason why I asked is because if you pave it, even if you improve it to gravel, eventually it's gonna be, compact to the point where it might as well be paved.
It has to be paved.
Right, so where's that water going to? And if it's going into this gravel existing swale, is it gonna be enough to handle any extra water? Because it's gonna be a lot more runoff than there is now. Is there gonna be problems down at the road? Is this gonna be big enough to handle a big storm? Is it gonna overflow into Hutchinson Road? Any ideas on that? Now, that said, in most cases, you have a single-family house, you're not required to do any kind of stormwater analysis. Under the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the commission, if they feel it necessary, could make you do some kind of stormwater analysis for any kind of project, if you feel that it could be a problem. So keep that in mind. In this case, this is a long driveway, so it's gonna be picking up a lot of surface area. I wanna know where's it gonna be directed to? And wherever it's directed to, I wanna make sure that whatever infiltration practices you have is gonna be adequate, so there's no extra water going on to Hutchinson Road, which eventually goes down the hill to that low spot, which is the stream in the pond.
Great. We'll ask the engineers, through chair, to analyze that one, the point of
Yeah,
impervious and what that swale can handle, and half-inch rain event in general is what, we don't have a troll fishery downstream, we want to ensure that we're handling it.
It's a warm water fisheries, yeah, and which might end up being a stream all the way through and not a pond, but
Right.
that has yet to be finalized.
Right,
And the other question I have is, this area over here, see how nice and neat these
It's steep.
topo lines are, right? So that kind of piqued my interest because it doesn't look natural. And when I got there, it's true, it's not natural.
Stumps.
Is that an old stump dump? Because this is all fill material up here. And let me see if I can bring up the pictures, okay?
It's a stump dump. When they were doing some work there, I think they just stumped it way back.
So this is the area where the house, this is more or less where the house is proposed. So you see the footprint of the house? The house is gonna be somewhere around this area.
The flat area, right.
Right, so you get all this material here that's imported. And then what I did is I walked over to the edge here where it becomes woods again. Oh, sorry, this machine. Now I'm looking at the edge of behind where the house is. And the grade goes back down into natural forest. And this is all fill material. And so those nice neat lines you see around where the house is, it looks like it was pre-cleared, pre-graded in preparation for a house someday. That's fine. It cuts into the AWRA a little bit. I just wanna know, if you have any idea when that was done?
No idea.
I've lived there for ever. And most of this work, I'd say, was done maybe in the 80s.
I was a kid, I remember it.
What's that right to you, Bob?
The wood product looks fairly rotted, that's on that slope, but at least what.
I'm just, because if it's something recent, I can give you a,
No.
slap on the wrist and you should've come in.
No.
If I remember correctly, that was the chip dump,
There was what?
a wood chip dump,
A wood chip, okay.
and that's probably,
Yeah, that'd be true. Paul wouldn't be
So
stumping
wait a
things.
minute,
Right.
you're gonna put a house on top of an old wood chip dump?
No,
I
we
mean,
did, we
that
did
was
test
back in the
holes.
80s.
It was, suitable material.
Suitable,
okay.
Yeah, we did perks right around that area.
Right,
Did
yeah,
test
I wanna
holes.
see you putting on a house
No,
on something
no,
that's
we-
eventually
I already
gonna
did
settle.
test holes.
Alright, good. Good. Okay, then the two concerns, make it clear limited disturbance, and very concerned about, any.
Water coming down the driveway.
Water coming down that driveway. Yeah, that could be significant, it's a long fetch that could really pick up steam. And like, one of these thunder booms we get.
Well,
Check dams and stuff.
we,
Yeah.
in some locations, could look at some of the water, obviously, we're not in roof, in some of these cases, we make sure that we're getting water off, maybe not the last piece of it here, but up above, you can bring water off and let it flow, sheet flow into the woods without accumulating
You
volume
could,
and
maybe
velocity.
there's some,
Right, how it gets to the end. Just did a long driveway.
maybe you
bridge
pitch
to it.
the driveway in a certain, different direction depending on where you are along the length.
And it just sheets it off into the downgrade to the side. So we don't have all this volume at the very end.
Right.
Small grading issues.
Yeah, the object with water control is try to break it up into smaller units.
And, clearly up above, we have that ability because we are at grade and everything from there just aims to the.
Yeah, it goes right down the hill.
Where's our well, I would say to a northwest direction, we can drop it off.
For example, this picture right here was taken in the electrical easement. Yeah, right there.
Which is here.
Yeah, looking down towards West Sutton Road. So you can see it's very well established with vegetation. And it all pitches that direction.
Downgrade.
But depending on how the driveway is also pitched, the water's gonna go,
Keep following the
keep
driveway.
following the driveway, which gives me a lot of concern about what's going on.
We'll address the grading on the driveway to minimize it, and as you said, break it into segment, get it off.
Thanks.
And only have the very end, let it accept into the woods as we're going along.
Is the house pitched towards the driveway? Because do we have to worry about any kind of infiltration for the roof as well?
Well,
Technically, it's outside of jurisdiction, and I'm only concerned about the water that's eventually gonna flow downhill into a jurisdictional area.
we would, pitch the water.
Just take a look at it.
Okay, we'll look at it.
Just take a look at it. If you can pitch the water away, out, so it doesn't all go down that hill, that'd be great.
We'll address it.
Yeah, let's look into it.
We'll address the runoff directly from the roof. I did bring it up, there was some question about it,
Okay.
but, because we were outside, there was some talk about, well, we're outside, but now it is coming back up, so it's not like I wasn't thinking in that area. So we'll rethink in that area again. And I know in some cases it's a minimum thing, but again, if it became, one of your concerns because it went into your jurisdictional area, we'll look at it.
You done? Anybody from the public want to speak on this? Mr. Ted. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, you've got to identify yourself and where you live.
I do?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Ken Rapp,
Yep.
and I live at 103 West Sutton Road.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I just want to know where the telephone poles are going to go.
We had that hearing a little earlier tonight.
Just
I
to
had
see how
called and
close,
they told me to come at this
how
time.
close to the property line do they go?
Let me give you this. So this is from our previous hearing. National Grid came in for the pole placement. And this map right here shows in the yellow dots with the black dot inside the yellow dot is where the poles are gonna be.
Okay.
And where's the property line on that? Is that on there somewhere?
Let me see.
Might I say that
Yeah,
one
that
project
project.
was separate from the other project as far as National Grid was concerned? I know the poles are for this gentleman, but they might not have the property line on it.
Well,
They
let
might.
me superimpose it based
Yeah.
on,
Beautiful.
let's see.
Thanks.
Alright, let me do a little GIS magic. Just give me a second here. So the first one is gonna be really, really close to this property line. problem is that based on this map they gave me, they didn't show property lines. But it's gonna be within the road, right away.
That doesn't go all the way up. Are you going underground with your power?
Yes.
Yeah, underneath the driveway. And there's a second one proposed somewhere.
We tried to do it the best way without cutting all kinds of trees. So we wanted to bring it from.
I also talked to National Grid, there was another
West
question
side
about every
road.
150 feet is their standard, but because that is a dam, that road is considered that they, Rob gave me the guy's name and phone number, that's how I get in touch with him. It was, they're going, instead of 150, they're, what was the distance there now? They were trying to cut 300, it was 300 and some odd feet they had to span, and they were gonna use 3 poles. But then there was some people, the dam people had some questions, so they're going a longer distance with the wires with only 2 poles. Not your issue so much, but they can go longer distances, that's all it is. So apparently from West Sutton Road, there you go, 1. So that's a longer distance what they normally carry. Normally it would have been 3.
Thank you
And
very
that's the
much.
only thing I know about the poles.
Question was answered.
That's not gospel up there, but it's pretty close.
But it's on the town easement and not on your property, you say that.
Thank
Mr. Taft?
I
Just,
don't know, I'm just curious where the house is.
The house?
He can show me.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but Brandon, it's way back in,
It's way
House
back
is-
on that
Well,
road.
let me zoom
There's
out.
no room in the front
Yeah.
for the house.
Where's our
It's like
lot?
a 500-foot driveway.
Where's our lot?
Is this yours right here?
is that the old
You're up
Lavoy?
here, you're up here, aren't you?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, you're up
There.
here.
Oh,
But our land comes down, that's what I'm just saying.
oh.
So your land right here is over, hello, what did I do? Yeah. This is your land right here.
Yeah, okay.
Going down here. The house is gonna be in this area right here. Can you see
Yep.
my little cursor?
Yep.
Yep.
It's gonna be right there.
Is, excellent. Is that the Band of Linden? No.
Yep.
Former? I did the permit for that.
Did the what?
Permit for it.
Oh, good. Excellent. Yeah, they're great people too.
Yeah. they
Oh,
are.
that's terrific.
So, yeah, we're way over here, we're not.
as far as the roof drainage goes, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be underground. The grading of the ground around a lot to disperse the water away from the
Get
wetlands
it in.
is, well, it doesn't even have to go in as long as it's dispersed away from the wetlands. As Brandon's concern was the roof water draining towards the
Right.
wetlands with grading a lot, so it was dispersed away from the wetlands.
Yes.
Or is it being drained to the driveway, which is
Which
then
gives
gonna
it
go
even
all the
more
way down to
water.
Hutchinson?
Well, it showed that.
That's why I say the grading around the lot or on the lot could answer
To
that
keep
question.
it level, sure, I understand,
Without necessarily putting anything underground.
like any cultic or something.
Like, you don't have to do that.
I understand, but just don't let it accumulate going down the driveway and work it to infiltrate it naturally, potentially around the house by having it level around the house.
Yep. Perfect. Andy?
The state has their way, there won't be a wetlands resource area there anymore, but, no, it looks good to me.
Whole different conversation.
Right.
We'll request a continuance until your next meeting to get the DEP file number
Yep.
in at that time.
The note on the drawing, Glenn, says something to the effect of existing culvert and fieldstone head wall entrance not recovered. What does that mean?
When I flagged the wetland up to that point, I never looked directly into this, and I thought there was a culvert there. The engineer went back, Andy Baum, and he looked for the head wall. So I didn't go back. I said, gee, I'm pretty sure there's a culvert underneath that road. I was standing right there in the ditch.
This is Hutchinson Road you're talking
No,
about? Or the
Hutchinson,
driveway?
no, for the driveway,
driveway,
underneath the
okay, thank you.
driveway. He said it, he still didn't find it, so that's why it wasn't recovered. It might be just a crushed stone or a large boulder passage underneath the driveway, but,
It's working.
we could not find the actual physical pipe there.
Well, so, with that said, is there gonna be a pipe under the driveway or is there not? Because your water does come out on the uphill side.
The water goes into that bed, the bed of crushed
Correct,
stone.
and then goes where?
And it goes underneath the driveway. It
How?
does, it comes down
Yeah,
Here it is, right
how's
here.
it, I see that, how's it get on the driveway if we don't know if there's a pipe there?
It's gotta be something, yeah, I couldn't find it either.
Let
Because
that-
there's the
I
flow,
don't wanna
because the
rip
flow is
everything out.
actually there, flowing from
You can see
a
it.
bed of stones coming down and beginning this headwater wetland coming down this way. So there's a flow path, and we're wondering,
So would it be unreasonable to ask that the end of that pipe be exposed?
If
so
there's a
that-
pipe there.
Well, that's, my initial question was if they've assured me there is a pipe there,
we'll reinvestigate to see what is in there.
and, you
And,
know,
we'll pull apart some of the stones.
further
and see
go
if-
towards Brandon's comment about the water going down the driveway and having no place to go. If that pipe was exposed, then you have a better
There's
place
a
to
crushed
go.
stone bed on the upland side, and there's also a
Right.
keystone bed, so it's definitely draining down to this large crushed stone bed. And then on the other side of the driveway, the down gradient side is the beginning of the wetland, water is actually perking out, going out fairly well, at least earlier in the spring. So there's a conduit there, whether it's the old farmer's French drain, large boulders, and he put it in because he wasn't expecting a lot of water to come through, so he just used large stone. We'll take a second look at what's underneath there, in order to justify that whatever water's coming off the driveway won't overtop that crushed stone bed once it's paid, and then come onto the road, which is Brandon's question.
Right, that would resolve a lot of his question if that was.
Sure, we'll investigate the flow path and the issues with flow at that driveway, along the driveway, to the point of where that drain is being disposed.
What time for that continuance, Wanda?
Maybe July 18th at 8:15.
Thank you.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
No.
No? No, keep it open. Oh, continue.
There we
To-
go.
There we go.
You're gaining.
July 18th at what time?
8:15.
8:15.
Your turn, Bob.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, and you're going to lunch.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you.
You did very well, Rob. Yep.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you, Brandon.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
My favorite time of the evening. No?
Not yet, you
No?
want more?
I'm so disappointed.
You thought you were done?
I did.
Oh,
It was-
sorry.
I was wrong
I'll try to
again.
be quick.
I wanna see the sunset on the longest day of the year, but I guess
Oh.
not. Enjoy it while it lasts, you know, 'cause it's disappearing a minute a day.
I know, it's coming towards winter. He's our beacon of sunshine.
Okay, I pulled the file from. I pulled the file from the vault. One was a determination. Actually, two of them were. This is a closed file, but she said that she still has to do some kind of landscaping.
Yep.
Between the lines, inside the lines.
Here's
I
the
tried.
closed file, here's the old file.
Thank you.
I only have two lists of the plantings, but I'll put one, okay. Is it me? Okay, I didn't know if you had to kick something off, okay. Karen and Mike Bronson. Here, and this looks really small compared to the last drawing.
It's
But
okay.
here to show our proposed landscape plan
Mhm.
to satisfy our order of conditions. One thing you'll notice on here that we didn't discuss or consider last time is this kind of rock bed, riverbed. And I actually have a couple of photos here, which will show coming off the road, all this deterioration that we're getting from the runoff.
Yep.
So, you know, now that we've been there for a minute, this is the type of thing that we're seeing. And we want to make sure we address that as part of this. This is like I'm no photographer, it's just the best I could do to show. This was all mulch when we first did, got
Yep.
settled in. So, you can see in those pictures that it's deteriorated quite a bit. The coloring is, the green is the existing vegetation and hardscape, and the purple would be the net new plantings and other work that we would do. And there's the list, this identifies the plants that are
Yep.
being put in, but it's, just to go through the list, it's 2 river birch trees, 1 flowering dogwood tree, 1 hemlock tree, and those are located, here, 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 and here. And then we go into 12 rhododendron. I won't pretend to pronounce.
Good, we wouldn't understand.
Okay, and then right into blueberry bushes, those I know. And, with the blueberries in here, the other one in here, hydrangea, and then some ground cover, up here, because we also need line of sight with the driveway. There was an original plan that had some taller bushes there, and it's a kind of corner in a fast-moving street, so we wanna make sure we retain line of sight. And this is sloped somewhat too, so where you see the hydrangea in here, they're set a little lower because it's sloped where it goes down into the lawn area. And then 15 hosta and a dozen or so perennials, which will continue to fill in here where we do have some existing perennials already, like iris and peony and lilies and other hosta down there already. And we've already complied with the French drains, those were done prior to the construction so that we could get the equipment down in there.
Okay, this was a project that came through in 2014.
I'm not surprised.
2014, and there was a minor field change, came in 16. Probably be good to do a quick review of that, because I'm trying to remember myself. I remember the
Was
site
that when we moved the
exactly.
patio from one side to the other?
That sounds about right.
Okay. Yeah, because we were started with it over here, but then we realized what little privacy we had over there, so we shifted, and now it's kinda hanging out there by itself. So we want to try to connect it back into the
So
entryways.
where's the patio now?
This green box right there.
This is the plan up behind you from 2016?
Yes. Yeah, so instead of this 10 by 13 here, we put it there, and instead of having these other walkways, we just want to do it like just along here and connect back to that patio. So it wouldn't be like walkways out to the dock, and we would just leave that there.
And we have these French drains
Yep, yeah.
here, here, and here, which
Yep.
looks like you show on this plan as well.
Correct. Yep, that's all in there and done.
Right. And there was to be a row of shrubs along here and a row of shrubs along here.
Well, there's vegetation there, and I think the discussion here was more around, this is the quantity that we need to see, and, what we planted or where we planted was more up for this discussion. And we have quite a bit of vegetation in these areas already with the perennials. So I was hoping I could just continue with that, and I put shrubs.
This gets to the question of whether or not a certificate of compliance was ever issued for this property. And Wanda, I don't think there was there? I don't think there was either.
Yeah, there was.
Right, so we still have
Right here.
an open now expired order of conditions. This was issued in 2014. Oh, it does? All right. Okay, so this is something new. These.
I thought we were coming back to comply with an order of condition,
I did too.
okay? And one of the,
It's never been closed.
Hold on, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So
Okay.
I see a certificate of compliance. dated 11/28/14.
It's never been closed.
What's that?
This has never been closed. You've already-
This one has never been closed.
I don't believe so.
So this might be for an old one, Wanda?
Well, I don't know which one you're talking about, because this is the only one we have. The other one you just put on the end.
Does the order conditions? I'm gonna find it on my computer, just give me a moment.
There it is.
Let's see.
And I think what's different here is this riverbed and that issue that we wanna try to handle.
This is from a 2008 notice of intent. Yeah, the latest one's from 2014, just give me a minute. I'm
Yep,
just
sure.
trying to refresh.
Yep, that's fair.
We find, we're not finding that one. So, oh,
Issued on September 11,
What is that one?
2014.
2008.
That's 2008?
Not this one.
So that means that it expired in September of last year. Because they're good for 3 years. So it expired on September 11, 2017. And there's no certificate of compliance has ever been issued for this, which doesn't mean you can't get one. But you wouldn't be able to like tack this on as an addendum or a minor field
Okay.
change to the old file. Follow me? Alright.
I'm not sure I do, so you'll have to let me know exactly
This
how
would
to
be,
course correct.
this would be new work.
I don't know if I understand exactly, but I think what she's doing is she's coming to us in an attempt to close out the order of conditions.
Right.
And she's offering up this right now as an as-built drawing of what landscaping she did do out there. And for us to determine whether or not it's in substantial compliance with the original drawings or not. I think this is what you're asking.
I haven't done this.
Well, you haven't done it
I
yet?
want to do it.
Just the
Right.
green, you've done the green already, right? Not the.
But that's
What-
just existing, the only,
And
yeah,
this is
but that's,
Oh, okay.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what
That's
I
existing.
thought,
No.
that's what I thought. I thought you were
No,
here for a
sorry.
consultation for the new stuff.
Yeah.
But it's in conjunction with
yeah, I thought I was
completing
coming,
the order of conditions that she had open and
Yeah.
sent it.
Right, but
I didn't understand the expiration
So
thing.
the permit you have
Yeah,
is expired
okay,
by, a little, almost a year.
too long, yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to tack this on to the existing permit.
What was the existing planting scheme?
The existing planting scheme is right here. Okay, so we had native
But-
shrubs.
Can I just make a
Go ahead,
comment?
you do it, you do
Well,
it.
no, I just wanted to say that if, this is the full diagram down below, the engineering notes were about, this is kind of placeholder, and we want.
actually, yeah, there was a note on the bottom.
Yeah, down, is that the end of it? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I believe it said, actual shrubs and species to be agreed upon, and, so we wanted to make sure we knew the quantity and, what we needed to do. So, we didn't take the drawing literally, because we already have plantings in some of the places that you were showing the red dots.
And it's your plan, it's not ours.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, well, again, I think the engineering was just engineer.
Yeah,
who
and
did
back
the
to
drawing
the,
was just trying
it's
to
not his, it's
satisfy,
what you presented.
Yeah,
Let me check something, one has a question for me.
okay.
303-0789. Okay. Okay, so let me read this real quick, reread it. This findings of fact is invaluable in situations like this.
Of course.
House was built around 1950. There was an old DEP file. Certificate of compliance has not yet been issued, but we just found it. The one that was submitted in 2008. There's also an enforcement order going back to 2006 for unauthorized cutting and clearing.
You know the property, right?
Yep, not,
And we're gonna get through this. Stay calm. Don't get too excited.
Largest concern for the Concom is the proximity of the new septic system to the Manchog Pond and the impacts resulting in felling of 21 large trees, all within 100 feet of the pond, many within 50 feet. And as such, the application made a two-part proposal to replace those felled trees with 5 new trees, 32 shrubs, placed near the bank of Manchog Pond. The exact species of trees and plants will be determined at the time of the pre-construction meeting between the Concom and the applicant. Construct the French drains to intercept surface stormwater before directly entering Manchog Pond in 2 different locations. We actually have 3 locations, which I think was part of the revision, if I remember right. Anyway, this is what we have now. Okay?
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right. So that's the, all right, so that helps bring the memory back. And we go back to the plan.
Yep.
So these shrubs never got planted.
No, nothing's planted.
Okay.
No, because I thought I needed your approval to do that, or expected your approval to do that.
I'm trying to remember back to the pre-construction meeting.
And I apologize, it's been a while. We needed to recover.
Right, so, pre-construction, okay, let's see what we got. There's the sign-in. Orlando's did this, right?
Yes, yeah.
And
Did a pretty good job, as I remember.
I think they did.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time here.
Yeah.
All the boards appreciated
And
it.
Karina Quinn from Gurion Helnut, she
Yep.
had just come on.
That's correct. She took over from Mike Weaver.
Yeah, who passed away. Right, that was a shame.
It was.
Okay. Okay. So, maybe I have something in my physical file, like maybe we agreed on something, I wrote it down, but I don't seem to have anything here.
Normally, it'd just be native species and.
Yeah, native
we're
species, I
fine.
really don't care
Yeah.
what you plant, as
What
long
do
as
you
the
like?
shrubs are native species.
Mhm.
That might have been what we
Does
talked about.
this plant list comply?
Well, yeah, I'm looking through it, right, so I'll tell you the ones I recognize. River birch, flowering dogwood, hemlock, rhododendron, high bush blueberry, summer sweet, and that's it. The red vein acanthus, can't say I've ever heard of it. Hydrangea is more of a ornamental species. I've never heard of microbiota. Hosta is more of a horticultural species, and I don't know what the assorted perennials is going to be. I think you'd have to provide a little more detail.
Okay.
Do you have hemlock on there?
It has 1 hemlock tree.
Okay.
Yeah, and you were reading 5 trees, and this shows 4.
This other tree here, is that a hemlock or is that a,
Pardon me?
I said that other tree right next to where your pencil pen is that a hemlock or what is that?
That is the dogwood. I don't think it's on there.
It's not
Written on
labeled.
there, I
Yeah,
mean.
it's not labeled as such, no.
Because these are 2 birch trees, so that would be the dogwood, and that's the hemlock. And we're using quite a bit of space here, so that's kind of cutting into some of what could have been
It says
planted.
dry riverbed, is that a euphemism for riprap?
No, I don't think that's very attractive.
Well, is it more like river stone,
Yes,
rounded stone?
yes, yeah, river
But
stone.
is
But
that,
I think that's in the
that's
middle.
where this picture is showing where the water comes down and
Yeah.
causes the erosion?
Yeah,
So you wanna put some stone in to dissipate it, but also have it look aesthetically pleasing.
yeah.
So it's aesthetically pleasing riprap, which is fine.
In my mind, it's a very aesthetically pleasing.
Okay.
Um,
How wide is it?
I don't think I know.
And it's also very close to the septic system. Where's the septic system in this?
Over here.
Okay.
It's next to, this is the well.
That's
So
right.
the well is way over
The
here.
well is, yeah, right.
And there's also a culvert here, so we don't wanna mix the two, right, because there's different things coming from different
Well,
different
that's-
sources, right?
That's a good question, because it says dry riverbed, right, but it's really just a way to
Drainage.
dissipate the water coming off the road. Is that a problem with your well, with infiltration into the well, and potential contamination?
Not if it's sealed well.
If it's a sealed
Which it,
well? I don't
no,
know.
it would be.
Well, it's a new-
It's sealed into
it's-
the bedrock.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's 250 feet deep.
Okay, so not an issue.
If it's sealed.
If this is to scale that,
It wasn't big.
that dry riverbed looks about 4 feet wide or so.
Yeah, I think it's significant, actually.
All right, so if we go
Walkway
back
may
to
not be
this
sealed.
planning plan,
Yeah.
if
Peter
you
can deal with
look up the number of
Well, you're
shrubs
supposed to
and
tell
trees
that
to be
here,
planted
yes,
on
it
this
comes.
original plan,
Yeah.
Want me to
are
put
they,
it
do
on
we
speed
have the
dial for
same
you?
number and the new planning plan?
Counting everything, it's in excess, you know, with the, you were saying the horticultural species or the ornamental. So
Right.
including all of them, it's in excess of them.
So we have 5 trees and 34 shrubs,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
And so now we got 4 trees. 20,
12 rhododendron, that's a shrub. I don't know what this red vein in
yeah,
Kansas
that's,
is.
well, he's showing the height too, so it's 2 to 3 feet tall.
Right, I get, he's gonna have to give me, or she, is it he or she?
It's a he.
Right, I'd like a little more, maybe a, genus and species,
A what?
genus and scientific name for it. Cause I
Okay.
need to know if it's a horticultural species or a native species.
Yeah.
And how strict do you wanna be on the native species versus horticultural? The policy has been native species within buffer zones.
Yep.
So, I mean, hosta, hydrangea are horticultural species, not native species. And I don't know what the red vein acanthus is, I don't know what the microbiota is, and I'd like a little more detail on the assorted perennials.
And I think the perennials I have there now are iris and lily and peony and hostas. So I don't know that I'd vary too much from what's already there.
The hosta and the peonies are horticultural species.
Okay?
Very pretty, but they're
I
not.
was
Yeah.
gonna say, does that mean I have to take them up?
No,
Oh,
If they were already there before all this happened,
Yeah.
then they're grandfathered in.
okay.
But new stuff has to be a little more
Yeah, no.
discriminating.
to meet,
Yeah,
To
meet the order of conditions.
Right,
yep, yep,
If you wanna plant
Which is based
hostas or
on-
whatever outside of that, that's
okay,
fine for you.
okay.
can you tell the landscape architect that along with the common names of these, I would like to see the Latin names?
Yeah.
And then we have the procedural issue of the fact that this particular application is now expired, so it really can't be worked on as part of the existing order of conditions. Unless you wanna give them some
I would be much
leeway.
more lenient,
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I think
yeah.
it's an attempt to comply
Yeah,
with the
right.
original order conditions, the planning zone, so it's.
They're here to try to finish it up, not
Sure.
dodge us.
We always whine that they don't
So
file for
then-
the order of
Right.
conditions, so let's help them do it.
Right.
so then how about we have them come back in July, we get a little more detail, like we just asked them.
Mhm.
And, see if it can be agreed upon, and then you can do it and get your certificate of compliance, and then you won't have to deal with all of us again.
I'm gonna miss that.
I doubt it.
No, we'll be back. We got a whole wall to fix.
Yeah.
You like the pain.
Was that
That
was
was
the,
the
that
first
was the 2008
Oh,
one?
man, that's
I remember
right.
that now.
Yeah, yeah.
It was for that's when
That's
it all
right.
started.
That's right.
Yeah. Now I remember.
Do you understand what needs to happen?
So I'm going to get the common and Latin names for these plants, which takes care of the scientific name or not?
Same thing.
Okay, and then just more detail about some of these that you were unfamiliar with. And are you suggesting that we replace the ornamental?
With a native.
Yeah,
Okay,
ornamentals
okay,
don't count.
must be
Yes.
native. Okay.
Something that, a native, like something
Horticultural.
that you would find in the
You've got it.
wild, that would survive, that you would find in the wild, not something that's been developed by a nursery somewhere.
Like the mountain laurel?
Yeah,
Yeah.
mountain
Yeah.
laurel is a native species.
Okay.
You would find it naturally.
Yeah,
And I'm sure
Yeah.
that this is a landscape architect with their work, can find some really good stuff.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and I think that red vein, it was an attempt to get some color into the landscape too.
That's
So,
fine,
I think
get
that's
some
enough.
color, but.
Yeah.
As long as it's native. We
long as
love
it's-
native color.
Yep, yep. And the blueberries are good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We're trying to match numbers for numbers.
Yeah, it was 5.
Yeah, we're also, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we have 5 trees, right, and you have
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
You want 5? How many shrubs? Cause we had,
Well, they initially took down 21, right?
They took down 21, but then they added more shrubs than there were. They kind of replaced trees with shrubs because it's a really tight lot. And you can't put the trees back up around the leach field because they're gonna infiltrate it, clearly, it's not practical. So there was a compromise saying, all right, we'll let you put up 5 trees, you can fit 5 trees, and the rest of it's gonna have to be made up with shrubbery. And not only that, but we want you to try and hug the water line to create a buffer as much as possible.
So there's 4 trees, 30 shrubs, plus that microbiota, hosta, and perennials, plus this newly introduced rock bed.
Yeah, I don't know what microbiota
I think it's just some sort of ground cover.
detail.
Yeah,
You've
that's
got
fair.
it.
Yeah, no, I got that.
Horticultural.
Detail on the red vein, the microbiota, and just named perennials as well.
Right, and along, I know you already just talked about this, but let's go over this one more time. What's between the French drain and the wall? It says existing plants, add several to fill gaps. What does that mean?
So, because the perennials that are there, there's just a couple of gaps in between that he was gonna put more plantings in
so what
to satisfy, you know, the red dots that are shown here.
What perennials are there now?
That's the iris, the
Oh.
tiger lilies, there's one peony, hosta,
There's one blueberry bush.
and one blueberry bush.
Right, because the bushes were supposed to be all along here, say shrub
Yeah, and that's a
7,
really-
shrub 6.
Yeah,
It's a snug spot, and again, I hate to rip up existing vegetation if I don't have to.
So when this plan says add several to fill gaps, what does that really mean?
It means if you've got 10 feet and there's 3 plants there, he's just looking to put more in between those 3.
Do you want any more specificity?
Well,
As long as they're native species.
The daylilies, that's just a flower, isn't
It is, they
So
come
it-
out in the
it?
summertime.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not.
They're
some-
native.
I understand that, but it's not like a blueberry bush or anything else that in the past we've allowed to substitute for a tree.
Right,
So you can't substitute a flower for a tree.
that has
So-
not yet been allowed.
That's right, so if she wants to put more lilies in, she can do whatever she wants with lilies, because the lilies don't count against the number of
Right,
Correct,
trees,
correct.
right.
I understand that.
right?
And there's
So-
gonna, you know, with this, we're also looking for a balance of satisfying an order and the aesthetic of how they,
Yeah.
you know, the curb appeal, I guess.
But we still have, I think we still have a deficit. We have, we're short one tree, and we're short a few bushes, I think, like 3 or 4 bushes.
2. But I'm asking, does this make up for any of that? Right, because the intent of the bushes is to capture and filter that runoff, and this is kind of, you know, above and beyond anything we've talked about.
Now you're
But-
trying to change the order of conditions. which
Not
is
too
ex-
far off.
Which is expired.
Yep,
So
Yep.
we'll work with you on the plants.
yep,
Swapping one for the other, I don't think that's gonna happen.
okay. Because we're gonna do it anyway, I
There you
mean,
go.
it's, you know, but it was just, because it's taking up
I
quite a bit of
understand.
space,
I understand.
you know.
But
All right,
the order of conditions was pretty specific. You gotta get close to that.
and
You
I
gotta
feel
get
with the
close.
4 and
You gotta
30,
get
it is
close.
very, right?
You gotta get close.
So 4 and 30 versus 5 and 32 isn't close enough?
Back to the trees and flowers, no, that doesn't.
No,
work.
I know, I wanna go back to the native, absolutely, absolutely agree with that.
5 and 34. We had shrubs be
Oh.
planted 34.
Okay, so
Right,
4
right
off,
there, right there.
yep,
Okay, so we had 5 trees, and 34 shrubs.
Yeah.
You have 30 shrubs right now? And 4 trees? What do you wanna do? Is it okay, or is you gonna add more?
Come back with the details on it and we'll,
okay, okay. I
Try,
just would
try
ask.
to, try to comply if you can.
I know.
makes it much
The
easier.
only, and I think the shrubs are just easier because we're so limited and, you know, already have pretty much that tree story there established, so it's hard to plant a tree and it's under something, you know, so.
That right
We'll look
hand-
at it.
Is there open space in the right-hand corner? Further to the right? Keep going, right there.
I think, I don't know, is that the property line? I don't know what that dotted line is, to be honest. We'll look at it though.
I don't know
We'll
either.
look,
I
yeah.
was just looking for an
Yeah.
area that
No, I
did not
appreciate that.
obstruct your view.
Your
but,
property
I appreciate it.
about, there's quite a ways.
Yeah,
Well, the property line was out in the lake too, so,
yeah, that doesn't show out in the lake though. Okay, cool. So July 18th, do I have a time?
8:40,
Wow,
and there's a lot in front of me. Sorry.
yeah. Thank you.
You'll miss us.
Thank you.
You will miss us.
Thank you. Ready?
I am ready.
Make a motion to adjourn.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Amen.
I didn't have.